I'll write it and we'll do it live.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, this is what we call round 2 of live shows during the course of the day. Welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show where we talk about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio. The barbecue capital of the North Coast and the world today, for that matter. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you'd like to get in contact with me this evening, or more importantly, you'd like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at BBQCentralShow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you can get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. He was a first-time guest almost 4 years ago to the day, to the month. Very close. But he is back. He is better than ever. He continues to blow up ever since he saw audience on this show. His fame has risen to cataclysmic heights. And we're going to break it all down, see what's happening in his life. But more importantly than that, we'll talk a little Barbecue Hall of Fame. We'll talk about the events that took place in Memphis this past weekend. I am, of course, talking about the owner of Philips Barbecue Company, Rasheed Philips, TV star, pitmaster, the list goes on. So looking forward to getting caught up with Sheed, and then 35 past the first hour. It is the third Tuesday of a month, and you know what that means. Our business correspondent, creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright, joins us. Plenty of business, plenty of new stuff. There's some drawings out there from a really big name that we're going to be talking about as well. So it's not in production, but it could get to production. But he has found some drawings that make it very unique in the space that it's going to be playing it. So Wes Wright to round out the first hour. Then we move to the second hour. Quarterly appearance number 1 of 2024. Founder of Hey Grill Hey, Associated Brands and or Internet Properties and Businesses, Susie Bullock. And there could be a guest appearance by Taste Test Todd Bullock. Taste Test Todd, 3 T's. So tonight we name him Triple T. He doesn't even know that, but I just thought of it. So there's a really good chance tonight in the second hour. We're not todding him. We're not Taste Ted todding him. We're immediately addressing with Triple T. It's got a ring to it. We're going to make it work. Then closing out the show, first-time guest, creator of Married to Barbecue and MarriedToBarbecue.com, Brianna Stark out of Houston, Texas. So excited to have Brianna on and talk to her about her whole barbecue career and what she's been up to. Some other things as well. So that's how the show is shaking out here this evening. Rasheed Philips and Wes Wright, first hour. Susie Bullock, Brianna Stark, second hour. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, the Snapper Snaps, and, of course, the ever-popular LinkedIn, all with the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook.com/ BBQ Central Show, or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. Lastly, but not least importantly, you can watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a YouTube poll question of the week running. We're asking everybody this, including all guests. You actively kept tabs on the results of both contests in Memphis this past weekend, and currently 62% of you are saying no. There were contests this past weekend in Memphis? Never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it. Well, there were, even though 62% of you didn't keep tabs, which means 38% of you did, along with myself. Results from the poll question of last week: you believe that Sam's Club can sell a well-built, feature-rich grill at a value price. That ended up with 56% of you saying, yeah, you do believe that that is the case. 43% of you said no. Not sure exactly where the 1% is missing to get us to 100%, but maybe there was a undecided part of the question that I didn't recognize. Matt Osmond weighing in the chat. Greg, where's the ascot tonight? No ascot tonight. Only for the most high-level occasions like the Barbecue Hall of Fame, which we'll talk about here in the second hour. I did wear the ascot. I didn't get a lot of feedback on that, which I was wondering about. I also wore an ascot last night to Marley's high school graduation. It appears the shirt that I was wearing was competing with the ascot that I was also sporting, so it made the look a little uncohesive, a little hip adjacent. So today I went solid colored shirt and then red or wine colored ascot, and that seemed to work out quite. It's more of a maroony colored ascot, not red. Got to get one of those too. But that's the unofficial poll question of the week. Like, what do you think about ascots? Like, just jump in the YouTube chat and give me your thoughts. Is that an ostensibly stuffy look? Do you associate it with shitheads and snobs? Or is this something that can be brought back as long as you're seeing it out there actively? It's something that you can get behind because you have buttons undone. It's supposed to be more of a relaxed look, where a tie would be your most formal look. The ascot is supposed to bring it down a level, be a little bit more approachable. But I think in many stereotypical situations, you think it might be a little more stuffy than not. So that's the secondary poll question of the week. And we start here this evening. First and foremost, let's go ahead and give a hearty congratulations, hand clasp, and well-placed smack on the fanny for the third time winning overall grand champ at Memphis in May, the Shed. Good for you. It is their fourth whole hog win as well. This win moves them into what I am classifying as very elite status at Memphis in May. Only Jack's Old South and Big Bob Gibson's have won more overall grand championships. This one ties them, the Shed, with the legendary team Apple City Barbecue, of course, headed by Mike Mills, for what I guess would be the second most overall grand championship wins, because Jack's Old South and Big Bob Gibson are both deadlocked at 5 overall GCs at this moment. Chris Lilly was in the mix again this year. If you didn't know the category results over at Memphis in May, the Shed wins hog. Obviously, they also go on to win overall. Pork shoulder, Big Bob Gibson's winning another one. And ribs, 2 out of 3 years, I believe it was, Heath Riles Barbecue won the ribs category. And as I'd mentioned, the Shed wins it all as the finalists hit the stage. Then there was a smoke slam event that was going on 6 miles in some direction. Overall grand championship, Smoke Masters, a team I've never heard of. They had categories of pulled pork, winning their porkers, ribs winner, Smoke Masters, the overall GC, and Whole Hog was Hog Addiction. Now, for point of reference, Smoke Masters won a total of $90,000 over the course of the weekend. $50,000 for the overall title, which we knew about. $12,500 for second place hog. $12,500 for a second place pulled pork. They did both of those. $15,000 for winning the ribs category.
Here comes the money.
Come on now. A huge congratulations to Will Hare and his team for pulling a ton of cash and punching tickets to World Food Championships in Indy in November. So for real, where do you sit on this whole deal? Would you like to be the Shed and win Memphis in May and a check for $26,000? Or would you rather be Smoke Masters and win the inaugural Smoke Slam, but also taking home $90,000 in your pocket? I said $90,000 in your pocket. That's a lot.
Here comes the money.
Here's a question. I'm wondering if this is weird. Thursday, from 6 to 7 p.m. last week, there was a VIP meet and greet with Carrie Bringle, who was a Smoke Slam steering committee member and participant. But then you also, according to the documentation, had Heath Riles, Memphis in May contestant, and Myron Mixon, also a Memphis in May contestant, at Smoke Slam doing a meet and greet. Is that weird? Give me your thoughts on that while we're getting through the show as well. I think that's it for the open. Plenty to talk about. We could just run the show all me for 2 hours, but we're not going to do that. We have Rasheed Philips ready to go. Before we get to him, let's talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Let's talk about it. The Members Mark Pro Series 5 grill, gas grill. Patented thermostatic gas grill technology, thoughtfully designed and engineered with materials specifically selected for the durability and performance. The Firebox, for instance, was designed to deliver the ultimate in heat retention, durability, and premium corrosion resistance. Every detail of this cooking system has been fine-tuned to ensure superior and consistent cooking performance, including heavy gauge cooking grates. Where do all the manufacturers cheap out? Cooking grates. You want to save a few bucks, you want to cut costs, you want to give a lower retail price, cheap out on the cooking grates, of course. Not here. Stainless steel bar grates that you're finding on the Elite lines. But they're right here on the Members Mark Pro Series. They also have a powerful 304 stainless steel burner, weatherproof channel electronic ignition system that offers the most reliable ignition in the industry. It's the Members Mark Pro Series with thermostatic control available at your local Sam's Club store. You go to Sam's Club all the time. Did you know they sell grills? They do. And the people that make that grill are very excited about it. That's why they wanted to come here on this show and tell you all about it. Here's what I know. I have a fleet of grills in the backyard. When I know that I'm liking a grill, it's not what's the retail price, it's not bells and whistles, it's none of that. Is out of all of the cookers that I have through various different fuels, which one am I looking to actually cook on? What am I trying to put together from a recipe standpoint in order to use that grill and maximize its capabilities? Right now, it's the Pro Series. There's no doubt about it. I love the oven mode. If I want to dial in that specific temperature, or if I want to treat it just like a regular grill, I can work the knobs, do it like that. Sleeper benefit, that infrared side burner. So if I want to do sauces or boil some water, I can really do it. Not like those pizza crap side burners that you got on most of the other grills. But you know what you want it for. You're done reverse searing, you're done sous videing. You want something that is going to sear the shit out of that steak. That infrared burner gets real hot. Trust me on that. Again, only available at your local Sam's Club store. It's the Members Mark Pro Series gas grill. Both a 4-burner and a 5-burner option. We are back with Rasheed Philips right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookandpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookandpellets.com and see what they have for sale, and then when you're ready to purchase, you go to amazon.com or lowes.com or walmart.com. Same great products, even better shipping rates. My first guest tonight made his first appearance on the show, the end of September back in 2020. You can believe it. Shame on me for not having him back on since then. But we rectify that issue tonight as we have a number of topics to talk about. You might remember him from the first season of American Barbecue Showdown on Netflix in the teeth of COVID, or his successful barbecue business, Philips Barbecue Company, or his weekly podcast called This Week in Barbecue, or all of that. Happy to welcome back our friend Rasheed Philips. Rasheed, great to have you. We have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests here. You got me tonight, Sheed? We here? We good? Something's different. Rasheed, you got me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, all right, here we go. You were in one shot, and then all of a sudden you're in this shot, so as long as you can hear me, we're good to go.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. I didn't know what on earth was. Oh my!
Get that background set up, right? Yeah. YouTube poll question of the week. Of course, I know the answer to this. You actively kept tabs on both contests during the course of the weekend that happened in Memphis, yes or no?
Yeah, yes, I did.
65% of the YouTube voting public did not keep tabs on the contests that were going on in Memphis. Before we get to that, the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame was announced at 3 p.m. Eastern this afternoon, exclusively here on the Barbecue Central Show. Not sure if you caught it or not, if you've seen the associated social media tweets since then to see who's gone in. Any high-level thoughts on the class this year?
I think it's very interesting.
Interesting
honestly,
how?
I do. I think the whole Hall of Fame thing, it's almost not necessarily laughable. It's prestigious. It's supposed to be, but it's kind of out of date and decades behind. It's sort of like giving Denzel an Oscar now instead of giving it to him for numerous other films. You know, it's like, hey, we know we missed it. We know we messed up. Perfect example. Leonardo DiCaprio wins an Oscar for the film in which he has 2 lines the entire movie, but none of the 8 previous. It's like, we messed up. We're trying to make it right. So I think it's a lot of let's make it right.
Is that just due to immaturity? And when I say immaturity, I mean just lack of being around so long. You look at other sports halls of fame and some of these other things. I mean, they got a lot of track record behind them, a lot of years behind them, not necessarily so much with the Barbecue Hall of Fame. So if you were taking it over like 7 or 8 years ago, how would you have initially set it up to make it right going forward?
I think the best way to make something right is just to admit that you were wrong in the first place. That never happened. No one ever stepped up and said, hey, yeah, this is wrong. It's been wrong. We really need to make it right. We're going to do 2. We're going to induct a new batch, and we're going to induct who should have been inducted in the first place. We're going to backdate it a little bit.
So who should have been in? Like where how much is wrong, I guess?
I think one of the just blatant is talk about the foundation. Where was it started? Hey, we're just giving this to the unknowns because we just don't even know their names. These legends and stories and those figures that are blurred out in the background of the images that we see of all of these cooks. We just don't know who they are, but it sort of started here. These are the roots. Give a little educational lesson on it first, and then go in and say, all right, now so and so and so was inspired, and you can see these attributes and so forth from here on out. Like, how's Arthur Gates not in there? What happened? We're just going to skip over that. We're going to serve the dish. We're going to serve the product coined by him, but we're not going to put him in there. Okay, cool.
So do you like the Barbecue Hall of Fame then, or you discount it? You're allowed to have a personal opinion, obviously.
No. I like what the Barbecue Hall of Fame thinks that it is. That's what I like about it. I like what it thinks that it is. And I like that it thinks it so much that it believes it, but I don't believe it is what it really wants to be yet. Is there still plenty of road to turn things around? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will it happen? We both know the answer to that.
If they approached you to be on the names committee next year, would you be down for that?
No.
No?
No.
Wouldn't you see that as an opportunity to potentially try and help right the injustices?
That has the same outcome as Obama being president. It doesn't. You can only be on the board. Not going to change everything. 8 years can't change 400.
Yeah.
Me jumping on now can't change, multiple decades. I don't think it's far gone. I think, just like most of the infrastructures that are set up incorrectly and need true change, dismantle it, start over.
If you look at the list of 10 names, 4 went in today. Of the 6 that remained off, if you could have one unilateral vote to stick one of those 6 in, who would it be and why?
That I'll have to come back to. That's not as much of an immediate, gut response as one would think.
Do you like dates? The food?
Do I like base?
Dates.
Yeah.
Like dates?
Yeah.
Memphis was the place to be this past weekend for barbecue competitions and events. In the old home of Memphis in May, Tom Lee Park, we saw the first year event Smoke Slam happen. Back in Liberty Park, we saw Memphis in May happen. So just to start, your high-level take on having spent personal time at both events. What did you like? What didn't you like?
High level, immediate, got to see my buddies. Got to see the professor, catch up with Tuffy, sit and enjoy an amazing conversation with Chris Lilly and everyone. That high level is always great. Seeing them split across, still getting a chance to hang out with Al, that's always my favorite. Creating new memories, hanging out with them as just a colleague and an ally there. That felt great. And it was great to see all of them, even though they were all sort of dispersed and separated one side or the other.
Do you have a take on having 2 events roughly 6 miles apart happening on the same weekend in the same city?
Yeah. My personal take is someone was trying to make a point and a point was made. It's not really any, I even commented on it. If you think that there wasn't a greater competition aside from the competitors turning boxes, you're delusional. You have the new event taking place at the old event location. They've locked in a 10-year deal, right? They're getting some of your top name previous pitmasters to come over. They're increasing the cash total prize by $100,000. They're getting greater musical acts. They're putting in so much attention to detail. It's outrageous. Yeah, I definitely think a statement was trying to be made, and it was made.
So what do you think the fallout of, I'm going to assume, because you mentioned the 10-year deal when Melzy Wilson was on the show, she announced, I think for the first time at that point, that there was quite a lengthy agreement in place. Look, I'm sure there's ripcord after ripcord installed in that agreement, depending on how both sides feel like they're getting along here between Memphis River Parks Partnership and MemphoFest or whoever's really in charge of that whole thing. But outside of that, do you think that there is a hope or a press to combine these two? Because I don't see how you're going to be living in Memphis with what could be two big competitions competing on the same weekend. It almost seems counterproductive, other than let's see whose dick is bigger. Pardon my French.
No. It's definitely a pissing contest right now. There's no question about that. And I would actually say a few points. This is a very big time for Memphis and May. This is big time for the World Food Champ. This is 10 to 15 years from now, when we look back, if they've declined, 2024 will be the year that we look back on and say, this is when it started. Because what happened, SmokeSlam caught them on their heels. That's point blank, period. I mean, the murmurs of SmokeSlam really came out end of October, November, December-ish to turn around and become, full fruition in 5 months, $250,000 cash prize. Top names like Erica Blue Smoke Blair, Melissa Cookston, Myron Mixton, Derek Wolf, Al Fragoni, all of those guys coming in to showcase and amazing brand partnerships. All of that in a 5-month turnaround, really? That's saying something. But they did it in a way where you can have SmokeSlam in Vegas. Could you imagine SmokeSlam Vegas? SmokeSlam Texas? SmokeSlam anywhere? It's the World Food has just been so linked to Memphis in such a way that if I'm one of the guys pulling the strings for SmokeSlam, my play is I'm not staying in Memphis. I'm taking this bad boy on the road, especially when the season starts. I'm doing it at least 3 times a year during the summer. I would have looked at Memphis as my beta test. What worked? What didn't? What scaled? What do we need to reduce? Did the people in there work? I would keep that. Keep my initial set of group of pitmasters and then go out and find some locals in certain areas that can really do something.
When people say, well, the big teams all still went to Tiger Lane, Tiger Alley, Liberty Park to compete. Yeah. And there would have been more weight if 3 or 4 of those stalwart Memphis and May teams defected over to SmokeSlam. That would have made it a little bit more of a razzle-dazzle. But a lot of the big teams stayed in Memphis. Do you think that there's a time where you're going to see a Big Bob Gibson's or a Jack's Old South, or you name whoever the big team that seems to win every year defects over to SmokeSlam, or would they split team?
Question for you. Do you go fishing? Have you ever been fishing?
No, fishing is terrible.
So I grew up on a farm in Jamaica. My grandfather was a fisherman. We'd go out early in the morning, right? And he'd always look over the beach and I asked him, Grandpa, what are you doing? And he'd say, I'm going where everyone isn't because there's more fish there. If I'm someone entering this competition, I could go where the big names are, the monstrous whales coming in, sucking up all the food, all the fish before I get there. Or if I know I've consistently always gotten pretty close, I'm going to the new thing with a larger cash prize and a greater percentage of me winning. Because what everyone keeps forgetting about Memphis and May, the first year of Memphis and May, it wasn't Memphis and May. It wasn't prestigious. There wasn't a $150,000 total cash prize. It wasn't even a SmokeSlam, right? It was hodgepodge put together. Now look at it. Now it's gotten prestigious. I think SmokeSlam skipped the line in a lot of good ways. And now if I'm someone competing there, I'm competing where I can be the champion that people have to keep coming after to beat and where I have a greater chance of winning. I'll let you guys go ahead and duke it out. Who's got the biggest stick here and there? Right now, I'm going to rack up these title wins because it was sanctioned.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no doubt. And look, I'm always been a business guy. I talk about money on the show all the time. Smoke Masters walks away with $90,000 in prize winnings. I don't know what their expense layout is, but even if it was $50,000, they're pocketing $40,000, which still is a more or less unheard of amount to win at a weekend contest. I mean, usually you're taking, 8 or 9 wins to get something like that, probably even more than that in a lot of different sanctioning bodies. So tremendous amount of money. I thought this was the best year for any team to go over and, take their hand at winning all of this money and then seeing where it goes into year 2. From a settings standpoint, Tom Lee Park and Liberty Park. I don't know if you've been to Liberty Park before. I assume you've been to Memphis and May on Tom Lee Park before. How does Smoke Slam feel in their setup as compared to a previous Memphis and May at Tom Lee Park setup?
It feels more inclusive, right? Tom Lee's obviously rather large, right? But the way they set everything up, they had your ancillary activities lead you into the main show events. So you're walking, you get to pass by your vendors, your carnival rides, your things of that nature. And as you approach, you're getting closer and closer to your fruits, to your competitors, to your vendors, and then to your showcases, like your Alfregonis, Open Fire Extravaganza, to your MBBQA, their demonstration area, to all of that. I think it was really well laid out and easy to track and monitor, and you felt as though you were in just a city of barbecue, versus where Memphis wasn't bad laid out, but you still sometimes feel like you're slightly on top of one another in a sense. And then there's some that are just so casted far off, you wonder if they're even part of the event. I think Smoke Slam, just from literally being boots on the ground and hoofing it, I think we were clocking north of 20,000 miles a day out there, back and forth between the places. You felt like you were part, versus like, wow, everything is so spread. It's just not even worth me going back over there to go see it.
Did you hear any complaining at Liberty Park about Memphis May not being in Tom Lee Park and having the majestic Mississippi River being part of the background? You didn't hear any of that?
No. Because everyone was just focused on, I want to go see so-and-so. And that's also the hard part about Memphis and May. If you're not competing and if you're not a pitmaster, you really can't go into the areas. You're window shopping at best, or you can pay additional money on top of your entry ticket and so forth to go into the Big Green Egg area, who is still charging separate admission to allow people in there.
Obviously, the big deal last year, some people call it the death knell, as I was corrected last week. The huge damage bill. So when you're at Tom Lee Park, how did you think it was set up to guard against damage? And was there any talk that you heard of about things not being the way they should, and that there could be a big damage bill headed Memphis Fest way or Smoke Slam's way?
No, that's a good question. That's something we noticed right off the bat. When they built the infrastructure, they really built it to make sure nothing was touching the ground and mitigate any issues. Even Al's location, there was your normal walk path, and then there were platforms built above the ground so nothing was touching the ground. You stepped into everything. The VIP and its huge layout and its suites and all of that, you stepped up into it so the ground stayed protected.
What do you got coming up you want to promote, Rasheed?
For me, we've got a lot of fun stuff. We'll be at the Daytona 500 this week. We're going to be at the Grand Prix in Detroit next week. I've got a very special supper club that I'm doing with Ghazni, so you guys can keep your eye out for that. My date and my appearance, we're literally last minute type of thing, popping into various cities. So stay tuned, check that out. Really excited about doing Smoking Out the Hub with Pops, aka Mr. Kevin Bloodsoe. We've got some wonderful talent and amazing pitmasters coming up. We've got Les Rhodes of Les BBQ. Everyone knows him for his monstrous oxtail that he smokes. Congratulations to him on opening up his recent location. We've got Auntie Delilah coming in making amazing dishes. season 2 Barbecue Showdown runner-up. Logan Sandoval, he's going to be there as well. AB, just an amazing cast and lineup of like-minded chefs and pitmasters that are going to be out in Compton at the Crystal Casino, July 26th and 27th.
Nice. A lot of things going on in the world of Rasheed Philips, but he's got a few minutes to spare here as we're breaking down Memphis in May and Smoke Slam. She'd appreciate you coming back on the show. And by the way, if you like Barbecue Podcast, you're not already subscribed, make sure you're subscribed to This Week in Barbecue. Great listen every week. Appreciate the time here tonight. We'll do it again sooner than later, Rasheed.
Definitely, brother. Appreciate it, bud.
You got it? Rasheed Philips right there. By the way, his website, Philips Barbecue, and that's BARBEQUECO, PhilipsBarbecueCo.com if you want to check out his website, and you probably link over to social media and all that stuff as well. Pulling no punches. Getting after the Hall of Fame in the beginning, and we're talking little Memphis events this past weekend. Love it. Way to fire up the show. Wes Wright is ready to go. Before we get to him, we're talking about this stainless steel beauty right here, the Schwank Grill. So first and foremost, don't waste any time. Save your $150 by going over to schwankgrills.com, SCHWANK, schwankgrills.com. And then as you're checking out, and you do have 2 fuel options. Liquid propane, like hooking up to a bottle, or you can go natural gas into the house if you have a converter like that. But either way, if you use promo code BBQ Central at checkout, you can save $150 off any Schwank grill. Now, this unit can get up to 1,500 degrees using infrared burner technology. You might be asking yourself, is this something that is only used in the backyards? Not hardly. Used in some of the most impressive and famous steakhouses across the country, like Morton's, Cut 432, Del Frisco's. They're not just using infrared burner technology, they're using the Schwank infrared burner technology. And it's not just for doing high power on your steaks to get that sear. As you're seeing here in the video, if you wanted to do homemade creme brulee, or you wanted to make some crispy Brussels sprouts, or maybe you got some delicate seafood, you can do all of that. And again, with 7 or 8 different cooking levels, if you don't need the full intensity of 1,500 degrees raining down on your protein or whatever it is that you're cooking, you can bring it down, you can bring it away. Choose the intensity you want, cook the way you want, but just know it's going to be done a hell of a lot quicker than it normally is because this thing is built to cook. Get it in your backyard as grilling season opens this coming weekend. Remember, it's Memorial Day. What better way to treat yourself than with a Schwank Grill? Use promo code BBQ Central at checkout. That's schwankgrill.com. You can link over through the show notes on the podcast page. You can click the logo on the main page of the website. And you can also link over on the newsletter if you're subscribed to that. Bunch of different ways to find it. schwankgrills.com. We're back with Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. We thank Rasheed Philips for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard 2 and Fireboard 2 Drive. Connect simultaneously to 6 different temperatures if you want through Wi-Fi, cloud-based monitoring, or via Bluetooth if you want. I did both over the weekend because the power went out in my house and I had no Wi-Fi router. So I had to connect via Bluetooth and it worked just as well. Fireboard.com is the place to go or call 816-945-2232. My next guest runs cookoutnews.com, a website that is giving you the inside scoop on all the business and associated stuff in the live fire industry. A third Tuesday of the month regular guest here, 35 past the first hour. We are happy to welcome back our pal Wes Wright. All right, Wes, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, of course. You actively kept tabs on both contests in Memphis this past weekend, yes or no?
I'm going to say no. I passively kept tabs on.
65% of the YouTube voting public are saying that they did not actively keep tabs on the contests that were going on in Memphis. Did you not care that much to keep active tabs or not really think about it?
I kind of followed it. I'd see an article here or there, or, I saw Heath Ryles got, I think, first in ribs. I saw on his Instagram, which was cool. So I just watched kind of passively like that.
I don't know if you heard the Barbecue Hall of Fame announcement earlier today. Again, aired exclusively here on the show, 3 p.m. Eastern. But if you did, your take on the 2024 class.
I didn't hear it, Greg.
You didn't?
No.
Well, all right. Do you know who was on the 10 finalists from a couple weeks ago?
I don't. I've been sick, so I'm a little behind. Fill me in.
All right. Well, the Diva Q made it. First time nominee. Do you know who Rick Brown is?
No. I don't
know.
No?
Rick Brown, TV, barbecue guy. I think he wrote some books with the same title as the TV show. Also a first-time nominee. And then you had third-time nominee Steve Grotti from North Carolina restaurant guy, 89 years old, I believe. I heard that correctly. So a guy that's been doing it for decades and a specific style of barbecue. And then rounding out the four was Fast Eddie Moore and, of course, the creator of FEC Cooker, amongst a bunch of other stuff. So that's what the living class looks like. And then there were 3 posthumous members or legacy members that were put in as well that I'm not going to remember the names off the top of my head. But I have all that in the second hour. So tune in. I'll give you the breakdown of everything that happened from 3 p.m. on. 2 months in a row, Wes, we mention a brand that no one continues to really know about, which we both agree is a shame, that being Broil King. And they're looking to add a newish type of ceramic cooker to the segment. What do they have going on?
Yeah, they have their, I think they call it a Kamado Keg IQ, which is their version of a Kamado grill. It takes their IQ system that they released earlier this year on gas grills, where you can, set a temperature and the controller will control it on your grill, or you can adjust it from your phone. They brought that technology to a Kamado grill, but it's not just like the Connected Joe where it controls temperature and that's it. It's also dual fuel, so they have a traditional pellet hopper on the side, with an auger that goes to a fire pot that sits below where the charcoal bed would be. So you can pick which one you want to use with the grill.
Do they have that with the gas grill too?
No, that's just the controller's the same. And what's kind of funny too?
Wait. So this is a charcoal. I'm showing my ass like I'm talking about it like I know. I was going to school you on the history of that cooker, but now obviously I haven't kept up with the revisions and the genesis of this thing since I obviously lost track of it. But so this can be operated as a traditional charcoal ceramic, but then it has a built-in pellet hopper on it as well.
Yeah, sort of like
Wow.
I think for Big Green Egg or some other Kamado grills, you can buy like aftermarket pellet, functionality for them. It's sort of like that, but it's built in. Yeah, it's dual fuel. It's kind of cool, and it all runs off a controller, either fuel type.
Can you get or what kind of capacities on that hopper? Do you know?
I don't know, because here's the marketing brilliance of Broil King. So they sent out an email about it, and then you could click to read more, right? So I clicked to read more, wrote my article, and I was waiting till later to put it up and kind of proofread it and then throw in some pictures and stuff like that. Later, I go back to that same website that they were promoting it, and they 404'd it. They took it down, so you couldn't read it anymore. and I don't remember reading that spec on there, but they switched it now today to just coming soon enter your email. So I don't know why they killed what they were promoting.
Any idea on price point?
No, I mean, I yeah.
So do you
I don't
know the
12
history of this grill?
I don't know.
All right. So I lived in, this is 2 homes ago, so well into the 15 plus years ago. There was a company in maybe Atlanta or the Georgia area, because there seems to be like a lot of ceramic cookers or wannabe ceramic cookers that are in the general Georgia area. There was a company called In Zone, and they made this thing called the Barbeque. And originally, Barbeque was like a thermos. It was the Stanley before the Stanley became all the rage, usurping Yeti, I guess, to some degree. But before both of those, there was this Barbeque, which is still popular amongst construction guys. So they came out with this thing that was metal. It was dual walled. It had commercial grade gaskets stuffed in between the dual walls. And it was metal. Otherwise operated like a ceramic cooker that you would see, but this thing, you could literally drop it off the back of your pickup truck and you wouldn't even give a shit about it because this thing was not breaking. You could hurl it at somebody and kill them. And then InZone sold it, and then I think it was sold again, and eventually Broil King bought the Bubba Keg. So that's where the last part of the keg comes from. So they kept that portion of the name, but have since evolved it over the course of however long they've had it. So to see them stick a pellet hopper, also run on charcoal, and then have this control. Do you think this is going to be something that is going to be changing the ceramic cooker industry to any degree, or does it have that kind of potential?
I don't know that Broil King has the capacity to promote it to change the industry. If Traeger came out with a Kamado that was dual fuel, I think then everyone would know about it. But I think it'll just, I think it'll probably be a solid smoker that will come out, and some people have it, but we won't hear a whole bunch about it.
A new kind of electric grill that might hit production at some point, coming from a leader in the space, W.C. Bradley, is, do we have a name for it, and like what makes it unique?
No, there's no name. There's just a patent for using, an induction burner on an electric grill, as opposed to, just having a traditional cal rod heating element that you'll find in like an oven. The way Charbroil's been doing it with their current backyard brand, and also with the Edge, is there's like a reflector underneath the cal rod, and then their traditional, they have those infrared plates that go over top, just like on their gas grills. And so that's been pretty effective. But this is for a true induction burner like you'd find on an oven, which performs really well because it doesn't work by just deflecting heat. It actually uses electromagnetism and heats up, like on your stovetop, it would heat up like a pot or a pan and heat that. But if you took the pan off and you touch the surface, it's cold because it's using electromagnetism. So it's way faster, and it offers a lot more control. You can, just dial in a temperature, or you can kill it instantly, as opposed to like a cal rod element, which will just stay warm. So it's pretty cool. And they even talked about in their patent putting a fan system on the grill, so that way you get some convective heating too, whereas now it's just, there's nothing going on in there. It's completely still. So we'll see if or when it comes out, but it's a good idea, and it's well suited for what they're doing because of the way that they use those infrared top that they have. It means that something can be heated with an induction system.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you want to see this come into the market? 10 being the most.
I think a 7 or 8. I like how dedicated they are to electric grills. A lot of people are like, oh, that's kind of nonsense and I'm not into it, but I think it's cool. Anyone that's trying to do something innovative, I give them props for it, and they seem to really believe in electric grills.
Is it odd that no one else in the live fire space seems interested in competing in the full-size grill market at this point?
Yeah, I don't know if this is true. Wikipedia said it, but I think Charbroil actually invented the electric grill supposedly like 50 years ago. Huh. But The Yeah, I think that people are waiting to see that there's a market for it. It's a lot of with the way that the grill market operates, a lot of it's copycat. So they want to see somebody do it first and then jump in, just like pizza ovens. We saw Uni and Gosney, and now there's 6 billion brands of pizza ovens. Charbroil or WC Bradley believes there's a market for it, and it's all it's a combination. You're going to get a small amount of people that want them in place of their gas grill, but you're hopefully that there's a whole new customer base of people that don't have grills. Whereas if you're just releasing gas grills, pellet grills like that, you're trying to sell to replacement shoppers. There's not, there's just a small amount of new grill purchases every year.
Are you using your current?
Yeah, actually, I use it because it's so easy. So if I know I want to grill something up quick and I'm done with a lot of time, it definitely heats up slower than a gas grill, but I plug it in, crank it up, go do what I'm doing. Then I just go back and throw some steaks or burgers on it. And I just like how easy it is. I don't have to worry if I have enough propane or enough fuel or anything like that.
I don't feel like it's got the horsepower. Like initially, yes, but then as soon as I open the hood the first time, so if I'm flipping burgers or flipping steaks, I just don't ever feel like it catches back up again.
Yeah, you want to kind of play with the like the placement of your steak on the grill. Like you wouldn't want to flip it necessarily at the exact same spot. I feel like it does take off some energy. But even if I only plan on cooking a few steaks, I'll heat the whole surface up to whatever temp I want, so that way I can go with one zone then flip over to the other. So and that's an example of you're working around the technology, but just that it still works easy if you're not too worried about that temperature drop.
So the new technology would be superior to the cow rod then. You could really get some serious heat.
Yeah, if you look at, I'm basing it off, if you look at stovetop burners that are induction, they perform better than gas burners according to lots and lots of independent, like consumer reports and things like that. They love those, and I've used them in cooking class a long time ago. Worked really well. So as long as you can kind of keep that functionality, I think it'd make a big step forward in what an electric grill can do.
Last month, you did a story on a partnership that, to me, isn't one that I've seen in the past. Not sure if it was good or bad, but certainly novel. That was the Good Charcoal Company, who I've efforted a number of times to come on the show and talk about their rise to where they're currently at. They partner with LaFrida Meats, of course, America's Butcher. How does this one work?
Yeah, when people that buy meat from Pat LaFrida Meats, they can also buy charcoal that's supplied by the Good Charcoal Company. So it's a option to buy both at the same time. For a restaurant purveyor, I guess, anyone that cooks with charcoal.
Between the two companies, who gets the biggest benefit from this alliance?
I'd say the Good Charcoal. Pat LaFrida, is a much bigger brand in my opinion. So that halo from that branding, would follow over to Good Charcoal.
They also have an exclusive charcoal product with Lowe's.
Yeah, they just came out with a briquette. And what's interesting, I don't know who got this or everyone got it, but I got in my email too earlier this week to go pick up 2 bags of the super briquettes and send them your like UPC or something, and they'll pay for it for free, apparently.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that was everyone on the mailing list.
I didn't get that. I wasn't on the mailing list for that.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get 2 bags of briquettes. But yeah, they've traditionally just done lump charcoal from where they source it in Africa. But yeah, they came out with a briquette product.
Just from a charcoal longevity standpoint, are you surprised Good Charcoal's made it this long?
Yeah, I mean, they started off in, I want to say 2020. So and the way they have to buy is, they're buying like container loads. So, I would assume that they didn't estimate the grill market correctly if you're kind of starting off in 2020. So yeah, they must, I'm surprised that they are still around, if I'm being honest.
Wes Wright is here telling us what's new in the world of live fire and barbecue business. You can read his website, cookoutnews.com, and you can follow him on associated social media as well. Wes, always appreciate the inside information, and we will see you in June.
Sounds great. Thanks, Greg.
You got it. And we hope you feel better, by the way. Cookoutnews.com, and I'm, of course, interested in full-size electric grills. I'm keenly interested now on this one that he was just talking about, having the conductive burner technology. So we'll see if that one actually comes to fruition or not. Who knows? Who knows anymore? Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Well, if you are, it's time to step your game up.
Step your game up.
Pits and Spits charcoal grills offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience that you can get in the market today. Using either wood or charcoal, their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. They're taking the very popular Santa Maria style grill. Check them out at pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code Charcoal Central. That's Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill that they sell. Once again, that's pitsandspits.com, and that's the double T on the pits and the spits. pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill that Pits and Spits sells. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com for joining us, giving us the information on what's new in the industry. Scrolling through the chat here, and Memphis Barbecue Supply, Jimmy Shotwell, taking first segment guest Rasheed Philips to task. Rasheed, don't get involved with Jimmy. He's very pro Memphis in May. Very pro. Jimmy, just stay with Memphis in May. That's cool. That's cool. Don't worry about it. So we have just a little bit. Memphis Barbecue Supply. I'm pro. Jimmy, you and I agree here too. I'm pro making money, which is why you didn't see me in Memphis, because neither Smoke Slam or Memphis in May said, we'll pay you every day, we'll send the G5 for you, land you in and out of executive airports instead of major international Part 121 airports. I don't want any of that. I want exclusivity. I want fuel burners. I want environmental disaster makers, and I want to get paid. Neither were on board, unfortunately. So I stayed here this weekend, and we did graduation stuff. Why not? We're Americans. What joins us together? Religion? No. Food? No. Fast cars and women? No. Money!
Here comes the money.
Money binds us together. Come on.
Here comes the money.
I'm reaching across the aisles, for crying out loud. All right. We're going to get out of here on time. We'll point to the second hour, refresh your libations, and then we will be back. We'll get a poll update. We got some hot takes in the second hour. I'll tell you about the guests, the best moments. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Gene Acasella from Port St. John, Florida, and you're listening to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the Really Big Barbecue Show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
We ate 54 wieners.
Oh, listen, Liberty, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, welcome to the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. We talk about only the most important items that are going on in the world of barbecue and grilling. Finally, after months and months, we have one in the chat right now. Love it. A lot of hotly debated barbecue opinions being tossed around. And look, in the end, here's what we're getting at. Jimmy Shotwell posted this. As someone whom actually supplied over 40 pallets of inventory to both events, I have feelings. In your review of both events, Jimmy has totally different views, and that's where it is, right? By the way, Jimmy, I think it's as someone who actually supplied. Get your English right, and don't get mad at me. I mean, people gave me shit about saying death nail last week. Immediately, it's like, oh, jump on him. So, Jimmy, I think it is as someone who supplied, not whom supplied. Double check me on it. Ask AI. And we know AI is the correct answer. So what we have here is a difference of opinion. And as long, look, you know me. I love everybody. I get along with everybody. There's only one person in my life in the live fire industry that I thought was a little less than savory. And I'm not even going to mention his name. R.I.P. But outside of that, difference of opinion, great. I welcome it here on this show. In fact, I encourage it. Let's talk it out. But rule number one of unwritten rules is just because we have a difference of opinion doesn't mean we can't be pals. We love being pals most. So let's work on that. Still to come on this show tonight, Susie Bullock, and perhaps a guest appearance with Triple T, Taste Ted Todd. I've given him a new nickname at the beginning of the show. Taste Test Todd is now Triple T. He probably doesn't know that yet, but he will hear that. And then closing the show, Brianna Stark from Married to BBQ, marriedtobbq.com. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show or youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where, as I had mentioned, we have a robust chat going on, as well as a YouTube poll question of the week. And we're asking everybody this, including all guests. You actively kept tabs on both contests in Memphis this past weekend, and currently 67% of the YouTube voting public are saying no. You did not actively keep tabs on those events taking place in Memphis. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, episode 335, taking you back to May 20th of 2008. So only 3 months and change into the live show at that point. If you've ever wondered where the reference of the quote-unquote show karma comes from, you have heard it thrown around in the past, especially in the early years of the live show when it was a bit more of a competition focus because people cared about competitions way more than they do now. You would see a team show up on a Tuesday on this show. They do an interview. Ultimately, they would compete the following weekend. And then, of course, they would win that event. hence show karma. Teams that show up on the show always seemed to do very well the next time out. It always worked. In fact, it never didn't work. And this segment talks about the way the show karma works. There was actually a point in time, if you can believe it, where Melissa Cookston used to come on this show the Tuesday before Memphis and May contest because she believed that they had their best showings coming off a show appearance. By the way, she was right. They won a lot of hog titles and a few overall world championships as well when she did a segment on that Tuesday leading into that weekend. So much so that she would call me months in advance and say, the Tuesday before Memphis, I get a segment in that show or run long, but I got to show up on that Tuesday no matter what because she wanted the karma. She believed in it. And she's got the trophies and the world championships to prove it. You can subscribe to the show by visiting thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe, both for the best moments and then any of the hours of the regular show that you get on every Tuesday. If you want to hear a guest or a segment again that you feel has been lost in the archives, which is extensive at this point, email John, let him know what you'd like to hear, JON@thebbqcentralshow.com, and he'll do his best to meet your expectation. Hey, this past weekend, not only were there contests in Memphis, there were 2 Famous Dave All-Star Barbecue Challenge Series events that took place as well. Yes, opening weekend. Both at Union Gap, Washington, never been there. Fresno, California, shocker, never been there either. Both the grand champion and reserve grand champion, and I just checked for results that I didn't have, earn spots into the 2024 World Food Championships in the barbecue division as well. So congratulations and good luck to those teams in November. The next Famous Dave's event is coming this Saturday, pretty much every Saturday going forward except over the July 4th weekend. So May 25th in the majestic city of San Jose, California. 1 spot still open as of around 1 p.m. this afternoon Eastern. Almost all of these events are actually full. Currently, Williston, North Dakota, shocker, still has 1 spot open, June 29th. And there are 2 contests that have 1 spot left. El Paso, Texas, August 3rd, location still to be determined. And Columbia, Maryland, August 24th, which happens to be the last event of the Famous Dave's series. So you can find out about all the past results and the remaining schedule of future events by visiting the website worldfoodchampionships.com/allstars. And if you're feeling froggy, jump in and try your hand for the ones that have spots still left. If you missed it at 3 p.m. Eastern, like our pal Wes Wright from Cookout News did, here are your 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class living inductees. What does that mean? It means they're alive. Right? Because there's also a legacy version, which we get to that in a second. We call it legacy because they are the opposite of alive. Making it into the living Hall of Fame in no particular order, Ed Fast Eddie Morin. We all know Eddie, a pellet proselytizer, a competition cook who's won quite a bit. Was also a fireman by trade, profession, and then got into making the pellet cooker, the FEC cooker, which we all know. He scaled that into getting into restaurants. At one point, he had a pellet-fired commercial charbroiler. He's now into the pizza oven thing, of course, like everybody else is. So Fast Eddie is in, and we're working on an interview with him, of course. He's a show friend, Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer, by the way. Also in, and a third time on the finals list, finally making it, is Steve Grotti. Restaurateur, Eastern Carolina barbecue whole hog, of course, his thing. And then you have 2 first-time nominees getting in, which is almost unheard of these days. One of those being TV host and book author, amongst many other things, Rick Brown. That name rings a bell. You probably saw him doing his Barbecue America on PBS, as I had mentioned earlier this afternoon. PBS was my real introduction to anything that resembled live fire cooking. So it was Rick Brown, and right around the same time, it was probably Steven Reichlin, or you could reverse those two. Steven Reichlin first, and then Rick Brown second. But PBS was my main line into live fire and at least getting an interest. And then rounding out the 4 living members, maybe you've heard of her, Danielle Bennett, a.k.a. BBQ. Longtime friend of mine, friend of the show, guest Hall of Famer, and now barbecue Hall of Famer. So Danielle rounding out the living inductees, and then there's the legacy members in no particular order. Barbecue restaurateur Matt Garner. Some guy named Big Bob Gibson. And then you have also a restaurateur, Jose, nicknamed Joe, Jose Joe Romero. And while many of you were thinking that this was the year the Barbecue Central show was going to cross into the Hall of Fame in some form or fashion, perhaps as an Impact Award winner, there was no Impact Award winner this year. It doesn't have to happen every year. What did Elizabeth Gunter say? It's a perpetual award, but it doesn't have to be given out every year. So for everybody thought that that was the bridge in for me, think again. Susie Bullock and Triple T are ready to go. Before we get to them, let's do a little Primo business. We love the Primo. I used the Primo over the weekend. It was a little windy, not chilly here. So once those ceramics got heated up, I knew I was right in stability mode, right where I wanted to be. I think I did somewhere in the neighborhood of 50, 60 chicken wings. I got the XL in the back. And that thing showcased 60 chicken wings. Full chicken wings. You know, I'm no punk. These things are full chicken wings. I cut the tips off, take the sharp knife, and then split the flat and the drumette just a little bit. I don't detach, keep them as a full unit, but open them up a little bit more airflow, a little bit more rub contact surface area. You know what I'm talking about. And then I ran the Primo right at 375 degrees. The thing stabilized, never moved. Don't be intimidated by ceramic cookers. Like, I think that's the biggest thing going about the lack of enthusiasm on ceramic cookers. Once you become fully realize that this is not that hard of a deal to lock in on temperatures and to make adjustments during the cook, you get one in the backyard, you're like, why did I wait so long? This is the best. It can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grillings of steaks, burgers, whatnot. It can hold barbecue temperature for days. I mean, in the summer, on a load of charcoal, without any fan assist, you can get 24 hours in a ceramic cooker. No doubt about it. Those ceramics heat up, and you are living the fuel-efficient life, my friend. Primo's only sold through dealers, so find one near you. PrimoGrill.com is the place to go. Click on the dealer locator, and then visit them in person. Touch and feel all the ovals, and then take the one home that best fits your needs. But don't cheap out. Don't buy down because of price tag. You're going to live with regret. Nobody's ever regretted a bigger cooker. They've only regretted not buying up and taking home the smaller one. Don't do that. PrimoGrill.com. Follow them on social. Don't forget to reserve the XXL for $150 coming out soon. Don't be left behind. We're back with Susie and Todd Bullock right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back to this portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories to complete that Pit Barrel cooking experience. You visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central show sent you, and you will be one happy camper. All right, leading off the second hour and joining me for what is technically the second quarterly appearance, but I believe it's also the technical first appearance here in 2024. Creator of the Hey Grill Hey brand, Susie Bullock, joining us here on the show. Oh, and look who it is. There's also Taste Test Todd, but at the beginning of the show, we nicknamed him Triple T. I see T-shirts, Susie. What do we think?
That's the guy. I mean, I'm down. Todd actually
Triple T.
designs all of our T-shirts, so he would have to design his own T-shirt.
All right. Triple T for the folks that wear 4XL. So, I mean, we got a lot of numbers, a lot of letters. All that fun stuff. We have a YouTube poll
4XL is just a barbecue medium, right?
Yes. 4XL barbecue medium, or as we say, barbecue schmedium in this house, because a lot of women in this house, they like schmedium. We have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, so you guys can answer independent of each other. Susie, were you actively keeping tabs on the results of both contests in Memphis this past weekend, yes or no?
Yeah, I was paying attention to results in Memphis. Todd was there, so he was texting me live updates as well. Especially, we have a lot of friends that are competing. So he was letting me know every time, oh my gosh, Phil just won first in wings. And so it was fun to follow along, even though I wasn't there in person.
So Todd, since you were there, you were still actively keeping tabs on both events?
Yes, very much so. Yes. I got heavily involved in helping Team B&B at the Smoke Slam on the river. Doing like their sampling and stuff. They were doing a big live fire cook. So I was helping them out. So I forgot, but as that was winding down, me and Christy from Girls Can Grill were going through all the social medias to figure out who the heck had won over at Memphis in May. So
67% of the YouTube voting public not keeping tabs. I'm very disappointed in my listening audience here, at least the YouTube portion. I'm sure Facebook and Twitter are much different, but we only keep tabs on YouTube because that's where the poll runs. Before we talk about Memphis, Todd, since you were there, I had Rasheed Philips on in the first hour, and he certainly had his own take on what those two events were like as he was kind of covering both for his show, and he had some showcases that he was doing as well, so we'll get to that here in a second. Earlier today, 3 p.m. Eastern, we announced the Barbecue Hall of Fame class of 2024. Assuming that you might have heard who got in, hopefully, because Wes did not from cookoutnews.com, so that went over like a turd in a punch bowl, but you guys are a little bit more knowledgeable than he is. Todd, what do you think about the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class?
Well, we're new to the barbecue world, Susie and me.
I mean, relatively.
Yeah. Like we didn't grow
new
up.
like me?
New like 15 years.
Yeah, okay.
We're pretty new.
We could almost
I got to be honest. I had no idea. I didn't have any idea about Grady's barbecue. I've never been to the Carolinas, so I'm very ignorant with that specific region. Obviously, I knew DVQ, and I feel that she's very worthy. She's done a lot for barbecue and has done amazing things for women in barbecue. Broken down doors for Susie to walk through or help break down in ways. Fast Eddie is, that's great. That's an obvious shoe-in. He's done a lot. And then I wasn't sure the other guy. I'd never heard of him before.
Rick Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know. We didn't grow up on PBS barbecue shows.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, he had
we missed that wave.
Beard, and he had this like a straw hat kind of looking thing. And I always remember he had this like tablecloth plaid shirt and suspenders that he used to wear. Like anything that you think an early 90s barbecue guy might be wearing on a TV show. He bought all of it and then outfitted himself with that as he was traveling the country and writing cookbooks. So there were 6 names that were left on that top final list that was mentioned 2 weeks ago. So Triple T, if I gave you a unilateral vote to take one of those 6 and add them into the hall, who would you pick? We love everybody, of course. So we'll
I'm blanking on everyone, to be honest. But I remember Malcolm being on there, so I'll say Malcolm because he's my homie.
All right, Susie, who are you unilaterally putting in?
I'd add Malcolm too. I think he has had massive impact when it comes to the world of backyard barbecue. I think in the competition space, it's a pretty small community compared to people who cook barbecue at large. I think Malcolm was one of those guys that really took social media and YouTube specifically and reached the home cook in a way that you didn't see prior to that outside of, TV, like produced television. To have somebody in their backyard cooking barbecue and showing you how it was done was pretty new. And I think he brought a lot of people into backyard cooking.
And he's grown. He's come a long way. His first few videos, he was sitting in front of a bright window and you couldn't even see him. It was just a dark shadow. So, but our videos were not great starting out either.
Don't look back at my
It's
old
just
ones.
fun to see the progression and see how professional he's become with it and how the following that he's built. And honestly, he's probably done a lot to help grow and be a part of creating this wave that we are riding. So,
Yep.
To your point, Susie, my first, it's more than the first dozen, but I call it the dirty dozen. They are not available anywhere on the internet to listen to. So for as bad as Malcolm looked, I mean, I've lived the life of, oh my goodness, I can't believe how bad this is. But
I published that. At some point, I looked at that piece of thing that I made and said, you know what? This is good stuff. You hit the button. It didn't get published on accident. You actively chose to put that out there. And
you were your fan.
I mean, yeah, they're out there.
But you don't know. I guess every once in a while when I'm the guest on somebody else's show and they're talking about the history of my show, I'm like, I didn't know how bad it was. There wasn't a plethora of other barbecue podcasts at the time. There was one other one, and that one was really bad. So I said, the bar is set pretty low. I just have to not suck as much, and then it'll be that much better than the other one that I know about. But there just was no competition. There wasn't any knowledge or awareness of being able to do this thing called a podcast. Yeah. You start now. The bar is way higher than it ever was before.
That's how I feel about every barbecue creator that started on TikTok in 2020 and 2021. I was like, y'all are starting with, the bridge is already built.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got an iPhone 14 that's filming in 4K and go get them, kids.
Yeah. Different
it's amazing.
Time. All right, Todd. So you were in Memphis, as Susie had mentioned. Answer independent. Todd, go first. Did you think it was odd, or did you think it was going to be a problem having two contests really competing with each other, same weekend, one in the former's home? It had all the makings of a great soap opera. Just from a logistical standpoint and a available number of teams standpoint in that area, did you think that it had the makings of being trouble?
I want to start out by saying I have big love for both contests here. I hope they're both successful and continue to live on.
Yeah.
I think it was a horrible idea to have them on the same weekend. I think from what I saw there, I've been there the last 3-4 years. And it was, especially when it was on the river, wall-to-wall people all the time. And as I walked around both places, it felt very sparse. The award ceremonies were half as full as they were. Last year, Memphis in May, when we were cooking with Michael Simon and Joe Pierce on his team, we couldn't even breathe. We were all packed in there so tight. There were so many people at awards, and they were not like that. And when just walking around, it felt ghost towny a little bit. I was expecting tumbleweeds to roll by. It made me a little sad. But that being said, the competitions themselves, the Memphis in May at Liberty Park, very well put on competition. The way that it was set up, I walked the whole thing. It was very well done. And it felt like you were at home at Memphis in May. You weren't on the river, but they made it feel like familiar, and I loved my time there, mainly because I just have a lot of friends there, and that's where they all are. But it felt really well done. And then same thing with Smoke Slam on the river. Same thing, felt really well done. It kind of felt the same a little bit. I guess the only difference is they had a few more public areas where they were doing, Al Frugoni had his tent and his crew doing samples, and then Team B&B Charcoal had samples going with some open fire cooking stuff. And I don't really remember a lot of that with the old Memphis in May, just with like the Home Depot stage maybe. Yeah. And as I was walking out along the river, I was kind of stopping and talking to people as they would ask me questions about like, oh, did you just come from there? Where is it? A lot of them had no idea that it was even a different. They thought they were going to Memphis in May. They had no idea that it was even a different competition. So the general public, I mean, have two different things. They're going to show up for both, and you'll both make more money if you have them on different times. So
I asked Rasheed Philips in the first hour if he was hearing if any of the Memphis in May competitors were opining for the riverfront. He said no. Did you hear anybody saying they wish they were by the river?
No, I think you'll have the OGs. You think about Myron and the Shed and those guys. I think Chris Lilly. I think that's where their memories are. That's where they spent the last 25 years is there on the river. So I think there's going to be that. But I feel like Liberty Park right there by the Memphis Stadium. I think it's a great location.
Yeah.
I think the people that are loyal to Memphis in May went to Memphis in May. It wasn't necessarily the location. I think the people that were married to the location and their memories there went to Smoke Slam.
Susie, did you think it was not a great idea to have both events at the same time? So I think we know like what's trying to happen, like why they did it, but outside of that, would you rather have seen them in successive weekends?
I think in the future they can be, but I think it was a brilliant marketing move for their first event. Okay, we would not be talking about this.
Correct.
We would not be talking about this at all. We wouldn't have been talking about it all year long. The amount of buildup that led up to this competition because it was happening on 2 weekends, the amount of notoriety that Smoke Slam now has within the competitive barbecue community, that exists because they decided to bake in controversy to their first event. And so it might not have been everybody's favorite thing to have happen, but I think from a marketing perspective, it was really, they're an established competition now because everybody knows their name.
Big money.
Yeah. And they put money behind the event. And so whether you love that or hate that, you can decide. But the reality is that you wouldn't be talking about it unless they had really made it a statement event for their first thing.
Todd, were you brought in as a ringer for a team to cook, or like what was the agenda otherwise?
No, Susie had been invited to do some demos on like the Home Depot stage, and we always love to go help cook. And I just, I know so many people there, and I just wanted to go hang out. And she had traveled for a week, and then we had a huge filming project at our house that ended on the Friday of the competition. And so a week before, she knows, she's like, I'm not going. And she'd already turned down those demos, but I'm like, I'm going. I don't care. I'm going to go hang out, whatever.
Todd has the worst FOMO of anyone I've ever met in my life. People are posting on Wednesday, and he's like, I gotta go. Like the week before, people are posting their prep, like, oh, getting my chicken prep in for whatever, prep in for Memphis in May, and he's like, I have to go. I gotta go. I gotta go.
There's another arm to the Hey Grill Hey business, which is called patio provisions. So this is, I don't know like all the business classifications here, but separate, business, but maybe it's under the umbrella, whatever.
Right.
So you've mentioned it a couple different times before. It might be like a distribution arm of products and stuff, but you've also mentioned on the show a few times about how maybe in the future you would like to grow it in a certain way. So where does the patio provisions portion sit currently?
That's another reason Todd was at Memphis in May, actually, is we really want to. We've talked on your show a lot about our barbecue seasoning line and our sauce line and how we build out our company. And I think it's because a lot of people that are really into barbecue would love to make this some kind of a business, whether you're in competitive barbecue or just you're a really passionate hobbyist. You're always looking at how can I generate revenue from this thing that I'm super passionate about. And we've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. And the rub and sauce line is just a part of our overall business. But I think it's kind of that first step that a lot of people want to take is like, okay, well, maybe, we try a rub and a sauce line. Maybe we see where that goes. And it's the barrier of entry is so high. It's so hard. And we've talked about that. We've done YouTube videos on it. We've taught people everything we know. And we just want to help remove some of those barriers to entry. So patio provisions, we're working with a few clients right now, helping them bring their rubs to market with formulations with different co-packers, and same with sauces. So we can help make connections there. We also do all of the fulfillment and distribution for products. So if you don't want to handle shipping on your own, if you might need introductions to some retailers, we want to take all of the established business practices that we've built for the Hey Grill Hey product line and, help other small barbecue businesses kind of launch that program and build that out. So several of the people that we're talking to were at Memphis in May. So Todd got to go hang out with some of our friends out there and talk to them about the projects they're working on. And so, yeah, it's exciting. It's a newer venture for us. We call it Barbecue University in terms of like the products that we've spent figuring out how to develop a product, how to order a product, how to create a label and get a UPC code and all of these things that you don't know that go into creating and distributing a food product. We've kind of learned all of those lessons and we want to help people navigate that. So
do you guys have to have a conversation amongst each other going, we want to be this, nice helping hand. Oh, by the way, everything we're going to help everybody with is in direct competition with us and could eat some of our market share. You don't think like that at all?
No, I've never worried about that at all. I mean, I have coached other food bloggers and other barbecue influencers to establish their websites that would be directly competitive with mine. That's never been a concern for me. We have always said what's good for barbecue is good for all of us. And somebody might have a platform that reaches 10,000 people that I never would have been able to touch. That then they get into barbecue and then they start Googling recipes and then they land on Hey Grill Hey. And guess what? There's somebody that's now familiar with my platform that would never have been familiar with my platform if it weren't for that one person that influenced them to join the space and join the community. So we don't really see it as competition. We see it as, just an opportunity to expand the industry and grow barbecue in people's backyards. And we think that is far more impactful than any potential negative. I mean, I give my rub recipes out for free on my website. And my sauces. Like, if you don't want to buy them, make them. And everyone's like, that's a stupid idea. And I'm like, okay, but is it? Like, we're doing all right, I don't know. But that's who we are as people. So no, it's fine. We like it. We want to help everybody.
In the future, could you see patio provisions also being the co-packer? Like, you guys take everything in house and you're doing it all here. Do you have a timeline on that? We're
hoping in 2 to 3 years. No, we're not in. We actually started down the process this year, got about 90% of the way there before we hit the order button on our first round of manufacturing equipment. And then we ran into a city ordinance with the particular facility we were in. So we'll have to build out a custom facility, and that's going to take a couple of years. Yeah. I know. But yeah, we do see that on our product roadmap for that company.
Anything coming up in the next couple of weeks we want to mention here before I turn you loose?
We've had these kits that we've had come out. We had a turkey kit, ham kit, wing kit, where we introduced a few new products that were only available in the kit. And they have been pretty much glazes for different things, kind of new flavors of glazes that aren't out there. So we've refreshed the labels on those, changed the colors up a little. So we're going to be releasing our own
glaze line
in the next month. hopefully. I'm not going to put a timeline on it because it could be.
When we get them in stock.
Yeah, when we get them.
We are having our summer kickoff sale too. So if anybody's wanted to try our stuff, if you're maybe have made the recipes, but you would rather just buy the bottle because it's easier, that's starting on Friday. So if you follow us on social or if you're on our text line, we'll text out. We only do 2 sales a year. So there's that.
All right. Leading into Memorial Day, which of course is grilling season start. So
yeah, it's one of the biggest traffic weekends of the year for our website. So we're super excited to have everybody get in the backyard this year.
All right. So take advantage of the sale. It's Susie Bullock and her husband, Triple T, Taste Test Todd. Thanks so much for coming on, guys, and we'll see you next quarter.
Hey, thanks for having us.
They're the best. Susie and Todd. HeyGrillHey.com, of course, the website. And you can follow them at Hey Grill Hey through social media as well. Little variations depending on whatever platform you're at, but typically you can just type in Hey Grill Hey and ultimately you get to where you want to go. And the big sale starts Friday. Brianna Stark is ready to go. Before we get to her, I will talk to you quickly about Franklin Barbecue Pits because, of course, you want a premium offset cooker in the backyard. You're wondering which one you should get, and then you remember, oh yeah, the guy that makes some of the best barbecue in Texas and the country also makes pits. It's that business, Franklin Barbecue Pits. So, what do you need to know about the schematics of a Texas-style offset pit? Relatively simple, even if the things that are happening inside reflect complicated dynamics of physics and chemistry. There's very few moving parts here. Numerous and massive differences divide the Franklin pit from the average barbecue smoker sold at a big box store. Don't fall for it. For one, much of the challenge actually comes from building these pits, coming with the thickness and the heaviness of the materials. Also, that's where a lot of the value is coming from. Cheap smokers are made with thin metal. Not only does cheap metal tend to warp and crack when sustaining the kind of heat you need to make great briskets, especially on cold days, the thinness of the metal just sheds the heat. Struggle to maintain consistent temperatures, and next thing you know, that thing's on the tree lawn. It's a plant potter. The Franklin pit, made with primarily quarter-inch thick American-made steel, anything that sees heat, engineered to be incredibly solid. This thing should last for 100 years or more if cared for properly. Thickness of the steel guaranteed professional-grade heat retention, critical component to making great barbecue. Every Franklin pit unique to itself, to include their own natural markings and its own badge number. So, if you're somebody that owns a barbecue retail store, you're looking to bring in an offset line, this is the one you want to do. Go to franklinbbqpits.com and fill out the dealer form. Talk to my buddy Matt Gase. He'll get you set up. If you are someone that's looking to buy one and you don't have a dealer near you, you can buy one at the same website, franklinbbqpits.com, and Franklin will send one right to the bottom of your driveway. Find its forever home, and away you go. 100 years later, the thing will be ticking. FranklinBBQPits.com is the website, and we are back with the creator of Married to Barbecue, Brianna Stark, for her first time. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
All right, we thank Susie and Todd Bullock for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Aladino, makers. Well, that's the line. JRE Tobacco is the maker of Aladino premium hand-rolled cigars. Of course, my favorite, the Corojo Reserva line, but plenty other ones to satisfy whatever type of cigar that you like. A lot of barbecue folks loving cigars. These are the ones you want to get. Visit jretobacco.com. Find a retailer near you. If they have the Reserva line, try that. Or maybe you're lucky enough to try the Sumatra. Rare to find, delicious to smoke. Good folks over Jerry Tobacco. All right, coming out of the bullpen tonight, a Houston-based live fire cook 329,000 of you already follow her on the gram. She does grill reviews and recipe creation for the largest barbecue website that no one still really knows about, and I'm excited to have her on the show for the first time this evening. Let's welcome the creator of Married to Barbecue, Brianna Stark, to the show. Brianna, great to have you here this evening, and we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. You actively kept tabs on both contests in Memphis this past weekend, yes or no?
I would say as active as I could be not being there, kept up with it on social, watched people going on. I wasn't able to make it because my travel schedule's been crazy, but I kept up enough, I think.
64% of my YouTube voting public did not. Shame on them. I got to whip these guys and gals into shape. I'm a little surprised we're that far off. So anyway, I mentioned you're a Houstonian? Is that Houston? Whatever. Born and raised?
Yeah.
Houstonian? Born and raised?
I moved here when I was 3 years old, so I can't really claim anywhere else. But I was technically born in San Francisco, California, but don't hold it against me or my barbecue.
No way. So do you go to Houston because a parent gets transferred for work, or they're just sick of the West Coast and Texas is great?
It was a little bit of both. My mom was actually raised here in the same area that I live in, went to a high school close by here. Her and my dad had me, and the cost of living in California compared to Texas was, kind of made it a no-brainer. And that was in, 93, 94. And they were like, hey, we're going to move to Texas. And I obviously came along for the ride with a thing of Starbursts in the back seat on a drive from California to Texas and never looked back.
In your opinion, and I've spent a lot of time in Houston over the past year, you can only choose one place. Where's the best barbecue in Houston right now?
Oh, that's easy. Pinkerton's Barbecue.
Real?
It's in the Heights area, but
Yep.
they are opening another location in River Oaks area. It is, and I've been to them all. There's a lot of great barbecue in Houston. You got Corkscrew, you got Truth, you got a lot of great ones. Pinkerton's does it better than just about anybody else. And I've gotten to know Grant over the last couple of years. He's a good guy too, but that's not why I like his barbecue. I liked his barbecue before I knew him.
What is there a line? Like if I go, I'm not a big shot by any stretch of the imagination, but I really don't like to wait. We went to Truth Barbecue in the Heights area about a year ago, actually. And it was like an hour and 25 minutes. And I was like, I don't know if I could really stretch it out much more than this. I was probably at my limit. Similar type of experience at Pinkerton's?
No, I don't think it's the same. I have been to Pinkerton's and had to stand in a line. I don't think I've ever had to stay longer than maybe a half hour on a Sunday. It's not terrible. They get people in and out of there quick. They're pulling briskets out of the warmers, they're slicing them, they're getting you through there quickly. You may have a little bit of trouble finding seating on a busy day, but the line isn't atrocious. It's not like you're outside of Franklin's or Snow's or something like that. It's not too bad, but it's worth every second of the wait. I can tell you that.
When did Married to Barbecue start for you?
In about middle of 2021, I guess Married to Barbecue was born. It wasn't called Married to Barbecue yet. I think my handle was like the Barbecue Wife or something like that at that point. So me and my husband have been doing competition barbecue for about 10 years. We compete in IBCA, a little bit of KCBS, CBA comps. And, we, like everyone else in 2020, jumped on TikTok and we were watching people make these videos. And he goes, hey, we should make a video of us cooking barbecue. And I'm like, why? And he's like, why not? Okay. So I'm like chasing him around the backyard with my iPhone. And he had just gotten a new Oklahoma Joe's Bronco barrel. And he threw a couple racks of ribs. We did them typical comp style, wrapped, sweet, sticky, not fall off the bone, the vibe. I posted it, did like a voiceover the same way I do now, and went to bed, woke up the next morning, and 1.5 million people had watched the video. I had like 30,000 followers overnight. And
Wow.
I was like, maybe I should lean into this. This seems like it could be something. And then we just kind of kept doing the same thing. We had an offset in the backyard. We had barrels. We had an old Weber Genesis we would throw steaks on, things like that. And we just started filming, and he's not a huge fan of the social media side of it. He's kind of more, he loves the competition side and all of that, but he's like, keep the TikTok and YouTube, Brianna will handle that. And now, a few years later, it's become crazy. I think we've got close to 3 million followers across platforms. So
if you started today, would it be different? Or do you think it would be similar in success?
I don't know. That's a good question, because I feel like I started a lot later than a lot of the people who have, been in the grind for a long time. Susie and Todd, perfect example.
Yeah.
Aaron Franklin, Malcolm Reed, Heath Riles, all those, like, they've started way before me, and they were doing YouTube, and there's a huge YouTube grind. Nowadays, I feel like with short form content, there's a lot more ability to reach a bigger audience faster. So I don't know that it would be a lot different. I think I kind of filled an area that there wasn't a lot of, a female competition pitmaster, very set in her ways. I dig into a little bit of like kind of meat science and background of like why we cook things a certain way. And I think I'm just a little bit different than a lot of the things you can see out there. So I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball to say if there was something I did differently or would have done differently. I think honestly what really helped me grow was the fact that I didn't watch social media very much. I never watched YouTube. I never really watched Instagram when it was photos only. I wasn't really into social media. Like I said, I just posted a TikTok and it all kind of fell in my lap. And I think that was actually beneficial because I wasn't trying to do what anybody else was doing. I was just doing what I like to do and showing how I liked to cook. And,
So now you have all this success. Typically, that means lots of cookers follow multiple cooker syndrome, as we call it. So what cookers are you using or are in the backyard these days?
Well, I actually just wrote out a list yesterday of everything I've got here at our ranch, in our competition trailer, and the ones I've given to my dad for his backyard. And we are at 47.
Holy moly.
And that doesn't include the ones I've given away to friends that are no longer in my possession in some capacity. So it's a lot, but in my defense, I don't have like an addiction to buying grills. I do write grill reviews for Smoked Barbecue Source, which is a barbecue website. And that's what I say is my day job. And so I do a lot of our grill reviews. So every time a new grill launches, we either purchase it or it ends up being sent, to my doorstep. And we do full in-depth testing and reviews and YouTube videos and short form and all that stuff on basically any major grill that drops into the market. So that's how I end up with a lot of them. Obviously, I have my favorites and I have the ones I tend to lean towards more, but I like to have a little bit of everything. And it's nice to be able to show people how to cook on a lot of different things too.
Is there one that like sticks out in your mind that might be like, one that isn't the norm, or maybe you're seeing it a lot now and people, maybe they just want to take a shit on it because they're seeing it all the time, but it's actually really good?
Well, I think one that really sticks out, I think this is a 2-answer. One that really sticks out is I just had a custom pink offset built by AJ's Custom Cookers out of Fort Worth. And not only is it a pink offset that's made of 1/4-inch steel with a 48-inch chamber, it's also got a Santa Maria over the fire pit or a firebox and a fully insulated firebox. So nice. I can run a Santa Maria and it on the same time, and it's pink. It's like hot pink. So I would say that's probably the one that sticks out the most just because of size and color. But as far as like, mass-produced manufactured grills, I really like my Masterbuilt, the gravity fed. You can throw charcoal in it. You can do a little bit of gravity cooking. And then there's a smaller one I've been using a lot called my Schwenk. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're infrared grills. Yep. Ding, ding. They're infrared grills. And I got one. And at first I was a little skeptical because they're smaller. And I was like, oh, is this really going to do what I need it to do? But I hadn't really had a lot of experience. I've had infrared burners, but never like an infrared sort of salamander style grill. But once I started playing around with it and doing more research on them, that thing has really become one of my favorite things for quick weeknight dinners, whether it's time to cook a steak, if I just want to get it done quickly. All of the big steakhouses, you got Morton's, Del Frisco's, all those places you go and spend $100 on a ribeye. a lot of them are using that infrared technology, and they're just searing that steak really quickly at like 1500 degrees.
Yeah.
And now I can do that in my backyard. So I've been having a lot of fun playing with that thing. I would say it definitely like is unique compared to like a traditional grill.
All right, so I ring the ding because they're actually a sponsor of the show. However, I don't actually have one. Not sure like when maybe I'll get one or not, but I'm interested to talk to people. I mean, you just casually mentioned the fact that you're using it. So, like, would you say you're using it a couple times a week? And then outside of that, when I'm doing the read and we're hitting all the highlight points, when I say 1500 degrees, the consumer in me goes, holy shit, that's really hot. Am I going to burn my food? So what's your experience running a Ferrari like that?
So I think the thing with it is I was the same way. When I heard 1500 degrees hooked up to a propane canister, I was like, I'm going to blow up my backyard, or I'm going to burn my steaks. Or, I was scared. I told my husband on the first few cooks, I was like, hey, usually I got this, but I want you here while I'm cooking on this thing. It's got levels. So you can put the steak on there, and then there's this little handle on the side you just lift up, and you can get it right there under those infrared burners. But the like square inches, like the area of the burners on top are not super huge. So you're not talking about a Traeger that's at 1500 degrees. You're talking about a lot more of a compact space. And you could probably fit like 4 fillets on there, 2 pretty good sized ribeyes. You might be able to do 3, but it's really just a couple steaks at a time sort of thing. And yeah, you can definitely burn something. I think when you're using like a lot of sugar in a rub or things like that, you might have some issues. I'm from Texas. I'm a salt and pepper girl most of the time. But it gives you that ability to kind of drop it down. So you can get that nice sear, drop it down, and it's got this little like tray in the bottom. You can pull the steak off and drop it down into that tray, and it'll just sit there kind of like in an oven sort of environment. So once you get used to it, it's not as scary as it sounds, but at first it's definitely hot,
What are your favorite things to cook on?
Steak. I mean, give me a great prime ribeye and I'm a happy camper. But I've done you know what I really like to cook in there? Creme brulee.
Really?
Whether I make the custard homemade and like make it myself, or they make these little like store-bought ones that I buy at HEB that they come with a little packet of sugar, and you just put it on there, and then you're supposed to put it in your broiler in your oven. The Schwank is the best creme brulee maker on the planet, which is a random thing for a barbecue girl, but everybody likes dessert with their steaks too. So
on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, and 10 being a must-have item in your backyard on 2024, what do you rank the Schwank?
If you're the kind of person who likes a good steak, if you like a really good steak, if you're the kind of person who wants to go to those fancy steakhouses because you can't replicate it at home quite the same way, I would say it's 8 or 9.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who only goes and gets a steak once or twice a year with your wife for Valentine's or anniversary, it may not be the one for you. But if you really enjoy a great steak that's cooked well with a great crust, I think it's up there.
As your Instagram takes off and you're creating more content and you're leaning into it, as you said, are you also being all of a sudden contacted by anybody and everybody trying to do a partnership or a collab or talk about this for no money? How do you transition experiencing that success, but then also making sure you're not just cheaping out and ruining it for everybody?
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie. It was, like I said, I fell into it really quickly, and all of a sudden it just felt like my email was inundated. But I made a promise to myself when I first started creating content that I was never going to be a sellout. I was never going to be somebody who just posted something for a paycheck and for no reason. I work with a lot of great companies. I just posted an ad with Reynolds Wrap earlier today. Their butcher paper.
Butcher paper, yeah.
I use it I use it all the time. I actually have it organically in so much content. And so when they reached out and said, "Hey, we'd love to work together," I said, "Absolutely." That's definitely going to happen. I have a lot of companies that reach out, or like new products that'll come out, and I'll say, you can send it. I can check it out. If I'm not like head over heels for it, I don't feel comfortable sharing it with my audience, because a lot of my audience trusts my opinion, and I don't ever want to take that for granted or lose that trust that I have in them. So it's hard to navigate. And then as far as like, partnerships and all of that, I do have an agent now. And he kind of handles all the navigation of like negotiations and pricing and invoicing, which was honestly my biggest headache, having to like remember to send an invoice and then follow up on it. I was like, look, I'm not an AR. When I was in the corporate world, I was an operations girl and I was in sales, but accounting was never my thing. I don't want to do this. So it's nice to have somebody that can kind of navigate that for you, and they take the emotion out of it a little bit. He's kind of like, here, this is the rate, and I don't have to get involved in as much. I mean, obviously I'm still heavily involved, but it's nice to kind of be able to have somebody to help you navigate all of that.
Yeah, a little buffer, because it can get personal when you're talking about money and time and all that. I get that. I'd mentioned Smoked Barbecue Sauce. You mentioned Smoked Barbecue Sauce as well. I've known, Joe Clement for, a good handful of years, seen him through the best times and what he's now navigating with Google and AI and all this other crap. How does the deal get put together with you and Smoked Barbecue Sauce?
I actually started doing like freelance work for him. I think it was like late 21, early 22. And no, it was definitely 22 because I started in 21. So yeah, 22. And it was like, hey, we want you to write a few articles and do recipes and photography to go with them. And I was actually an English minor in college, and I was a communication major. But I was always interested in journalism and writing, and it's something that I've always really enjoyed doing, like in a major way. And I was like, this sounds like a great way to supplement income and be able to do something that I love, and be able to, take my love for barbecue and turn it into something that I also enjoy doing at the same time, without having the headache of running my own website or having to deal with all of that. And Joe has just been awesome. He has given me a lot of freedom to, pick what recipes I want to do. If I'm like, hey, this is a good one, and he's like, do it, go for it, and he's definitely like critiqued my photography skills, so they've gotten a lot better than they once were. And we work really well together, and I love the site, and I love getting to do the grill reviews, because I get to put my my hands on like every new tech that comes out, and I can tell people when they DM me and say, hey, I want to buy my husband a grill, what should I get? I can give them an answer and say, well, I've tried a lot of them and I can tell you this, that, and the other. And so I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun outlet.
Monday is Memorial Day, signifies the beginning of grilling season, if you believe in that. So there could be a lot of purchasing that's going on over the course of the week as people gear up. What should people stay away from? As you said, you've put your hands on a lot of stuff. We don't need to necessarily call out manufacturers by name, but just generally speaking, what do you want to stay away from?
I would say a good rule of thumb, if there aren't at least 2 manufacturers making a similar something, maybe be hesitant, because there are a lot of gimmicky things. And like I said, I'm not going to call anybody out by name or anything like that, but this industry tends to have, I've noticed, a lot of gimmicky things that they're like, do this and it'll make this and it'll do this and this is amazing. And, people tend to get on this trending content, trending things to use and try and all of that. And I would say if you're starting out and you're trying to buy something that's going to be great for your family, get something that's been around for a while. Go to Smoked Barbecue Source and read my review on it, because I'm always honest. And just do a little bit of research before you just jump into something because it looks cool, because there's a lot of ways to make things look cool, and then they show up on your doorstep and they're maybe not as cool as they looked in the video.
Anything coming up in the next week or so that you'd like to talk about or promote before I turn you loose tonight?
No, nothing in the next week. I will be in New Jersey at the beginning of June at a veterans event, and I have it in my bio, and I'll be posting on my stories and all of that, but we'll be out there cooking for veterans. So I'll be out there at that, and I think there's still some tickets for sale, so I'll go ahead and share that all.
Follow her at Married to BBQ on Instagram. It's the same for the website. Brianna Stark joining us here for the first time. Brianna, appreciate the time here this evening. Great to get to know your story and a little bit about you, and love to have you back on again.
Yeah, definitely. Just let me know when.
Sounds good. Appreciate you coming on tonight. Brianna Stark right there. MarriedToBBQ.com is the website. I like it. Just hit the button there. All right. We're all right. One more to go, and then we're wrapping it up. Listen up, gang. Our friends at Big Papa Smokers have something especially just for you. Listeners of this show, whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a grilling newbie, Big Papa Smokers, your one-stop shop for all things barbecue, from their championship rubs, mouth-watering sauces, essential accessories. They've got what you need to take your food to the next level, whether you're on the competition circuit or in the backyard. Doesn't matter. Here's the cherry on top. Big Papa Smokers is offering the listeners of the Barbecue Central show an exclusive deal. Use the code REMPE at checkout, REMPE, and you can get $10 off your next $50 purchase of rubs, sauces, or accessories. Imagine the possibilities, if you might. Evaluate your ribs with Big Papa's Sweet Money, or add Big Papa's Desert Gold to your chicken, or better yet, pick up Double Secret and put it on your steak. Head on over to BigPapaSmokers.com right now and start shopping today. Don't forget to use the promo code REMPE at checkout, REMPE, and claim your $10 off your next order of $50 or more. Also, don't forget to check out Big Papa's full line of recipes, cookingwithbigpapa.com. Follow him on social media as well for amazing recipes. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Brianna Stark for joining us last segment. Again, her website, marriedtobbq.com, or you can follow her over on Instagram as well if you're not already. A lot of you are. Let's go ahead and end the poll here this evening, since I just happened to be looking off here. And remember it, final results of the poll. You actively kept tabs on the results of both contests in Memphis this past weekend. 63% of you are saying no, you did not actively keep tabs on either event in Memphis this past weekend. 36% of you are saying yes. Once again, that brings us to 99%. Why can't we get to 100? We were at 100% most of the time through the show, and as we get to the end, 1% drops off. Are we plus or minus 1%? Is that what it is? That's how I have to take it. All the way back in the first hour, Rasheed Philips joined us. We talked about the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. We talked about Memphis in May. We talked about Smoke Slam. And then we talked with Wes Wright from CookoutNews.com. There could be a new full-size electric grill coming from W.C. Bradley at some point, but no timetable on that. We both wondered why nobody else is jumping into that space, because nobody else is. Second hour, Susie and Todd Bullock, or as we call them, Triple T, for Taste Test Todd. They gave their thoughts on the events in Memphis this past weekend, and we also talked about their patio provisions arm that is now looking to help other folks looking to get into the sauce and rub business. They'll help you out with that. And then close it out with Brianna Stark from Married to Barbecue. All right, so we are back on track after a long day of live broadcasting earlier at 3 p.m. Eastern, now doing the 2-hour show, 9 to 11. We will resume normal programming on Tuesday. So for everybody that didn't listen to the close last week and me announcing it and also posting it on social media, learn to listen actively better. Number one. Number two, we're back on Tuesdays next week. Easy enough. There will be a show programming note next week that you're going to want to listen for. But don't worry, I got you covered, and we'll tease it like that. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. This is your proud host and U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Marley Rempe, and you're listening to BBQ Central.